I never noticed you had tattoos for some reason.
When did you notice them?
Just now.
Oh.
How many tattoos do you have?
I don't know. Like one of my arms is full.
Did you see have you seen these reports from the Liverpool Real Madrid Champions League final? That there's a big thing now that they're saying that it wasn't the Liverpool fans, that it was the migrants. In that, I guess it's a very like migrant heavy, like crime ridden area where that stadium is.
Yeah,
and like
somebody told me that this week. Yeah.
Did you see any of these things on that? It's actually very compelling. They show video of like these people storming the gates and stuff, and they don't look like Liverpool. Like they're nobody's dressed in Liverpool colors. They're all kind of like look like North African migrants and stuff, or like the Middle Eastern migrants and stuff. Everything like that live there, and like it looks like a gang. Like gangs were like
Yeah, like I got told this before this report by a Tottenham fan who went down.
What do you mean? Bro, what do you mean you got told this? It's very easy to look up.
Yeah, but I told it like before it came out by a Tottenham fan who went to a Paris Saint-Germain game.
Right.
And he said that when he went to the Paris Saint-Germain game, they were like running up to people, like pickpocketing, like mugging people. Like they do it for every game, apparently.
Let's bury a couple countries. What countries are we talking about? Immigrants from what country?
So they're in France. What are they? Just bro, and you got to understand. The migrants. Yeah, and here's the thing: the migrant communities are coming from all over the place in Europe. Here, like we have migrants just coming from the south border. You know, we don't have people coming in from the Canadian border and everything. But in Europe, they're coming from Russia. They're coming from the Middle East. They're coming from North Africa. They're coming, like there's a lot of immigration, illegal immigration in Europe, because like it's just like there's so many different cultures on the borders there, So, but it was but the thing was like everybody's blaming like the soccer fans, but the thing is like they're like supposedly like in that community there's just a lot of, it's like having like what's a high crime area in South Florida, like the highest crime area probably.
Liberty City.
Okay, Liberty City. It's like having a stadium in Liberty City, and it's like people are going to the games, but like because there's like a lot of gangs or stuff around there, they're like groups of like 7-8 people are like running up and like mugging people and hustling and pickpocketing them. So there's like a lot of that there in that specific area of France, like that area. You know what I mean? So it's like it's just a problem. And supposedly it's not a new problem. But they tried to dump it in the Liverpool fans' laps, because Liverpool fans have in the past caused problems, hooliganism and stuff and all that. So people, there's like a lot of, like I've been reading a lot of this. It's just there's a lot of debate going on like whose fault this is. So. But it was an interesting.
I just thought that there was, how if you go to Miami, it's Miami's a melting pot now. They isn't all Cubans anymore, but like. There are certain places you go and the high immigrants, like Melbourne, a lot of Greeks, you know what I'm saying? I thought maybe there were some, it was a specifically.
Let me give you an interesting kind of story. So if you go to Georgia, right, and you go to Atlanta, Georgia, right, and we've been to Atlanta, obviously, Konnan, you've been there. We partied out in Buckhead and stuff like that. There's Buckhead, the suburbs, and then there's like the outer suburbs. And there's an area of Georgia called Stone Mountain.
That's
now just
where,
imagine like type of redneck
from.
Right,
yeah.
like they just say like Stone Mountain, Georgia. Like I live in Stone Mountain, Georgia, right?
Right.
And literally, it's a big mountain, and they had sculpted like the Mount Rushmore. There was like sculptures of like the Southern Confederate Army figures. So it's obviously very, very it's like polarized, right? But when there was like when migrants were coming over to this country, like Middle Eastern migrants were getting shipped over here, they were sending them to Stone Mountain, Georgia. And I was okay, so like Stone Mountain, this massive redneck community in the heart of like the South, like the Confederacy and everything, was like becoming a massive immigrant community. Just imagine how that like went over.
Yeah, there's only two more. There's only two. There's only two places which are more rednecker than Stone Mountain, which would be Gainesville and Marietta.
Right?
All right, so we got our boy from London town doing it up again, our boy Billy Body with the hot news. Before we start with the hot news, Billy, Did you see, since you're a humongous boxing fan like I am, did you see the Devin Haney-Kambosos fight?
No, we didn't. I didn't cover that last week. I just had too much stuff to cover. I have seen bits of it now because I've seen highlights of it, and they were just going at it. Yeah, I saw that. But
okay, let me make a couple comments here. This was incredible because, him being from Melbourne and being Greek, he came out with the Greek flag and the Greek national anthem, and all the Greeks were going nuts because he was out there.
You're married to a Greek woman.
Right. 40,000 people were there. Place was going hype. Michael Buffer was there, so it had the big time feel. They had this Australian guy announcer before his match who was tremendous. I never really paid much attention to Tim Bradley as an analyst. Billy, he was incredible. I mean, he was explaining foot positioning, why, how Kambosos was leaning too much forward and he was getting caught with jabs. He was really, really, really informative here. Bro, Haney just went. This was a very boring match because Haney just went in there. He just outboxed him. He out-jabbed him in every round. Hardly even any combinations. He frustrated Kambosos. He left his face all marked up. He beat him up. Devin's only 23. I think Kambosos should have come after him like he did with Teofimo Lopez. This is a very interesting thing because Lomachenko, who obviously got beat by Lopez, and it just shows you at any time you can get beat by anybody, because Lomachenko was one of the most decorated amateurs. He was one of the most. I follow amateur boxing because a lot of Cubans are great amateur boxers, and Lomachenko was something like, and I don't have the number in front of me, but he was something like 401 as an amateur, winning world championships, gold medals. The guy won like a world championship in his third professional fight. And when he went up against Guillermo Rigondeaux, who's a Cuban, who's one of the most technically sound amateurs I've ever seen in my life, bro, he ate him up, even though Rigondeaux had broken his hand. So I was very amazed when he went in there and Lopez beat him up the way he did, because Lopez really did dominate him. But here's something that I found very interesting about Lomachenko. Did you know that he's Ukrainian and he joined the Ukrainian army with the Klitschko brothers, and they gave him permission to go fight Kambosos in Australia, and said, no, I'm going to stay here and fight for my country. It's pretty badass.
Let me give you my little take on this. So Haney is supposed to be the successor to Floyd Mayweather. He's Floyd's protege. And bro, this he fights identically. The shoulder roll, he's in the same fighting position. And bro, he wiped the guy out on points. It's like a typical Mayweather fight. It was boring. The one guy was just way better than the other guy boxing. Like Floyd does. You can't hit him. He does the shoulder he doesn't let you get points on him and stuff. And he just scores left and right. It was a wipeout. And it was funny watching this. It's you watch and you were like, that could have been 12-0. Right, but it was they gave it 8-4, which was generous because it looked like 10-2 at the worst. But it just shows you in boxing, especially over when you go to another country and you're fighting a local favorite, that dude, all they had to do was flip 2 of those rounds, and it would have been an even fight, in a fight that was visibly a blowout. So it was. I thought that was my take on that. But you didn't watch it, Billy. But I did. I was very compelling television just watching this guy go in enemy territory and just you're like, Jesus. Like I said, it was like watching Floyd. He fights identically like Floyd. Boring fights, perfectly technically defensive, and just all the shoulder move. He's got that shoulder to protect him and stuff. It's very, very, very compelling. So whatever.
All right, what do you got, Billy?
Yeah, there's not much this week. It's just basically clearing up a lot of other people.
No. Let's talk about this. The story I want to bring up. Why'd they turn edge? What was the thought process behind this edge angle?
It wasn't what's in the dirt sheets. It wasn't. So there's a story out there that says that they wanted to go down a supernatural route with the group, and Edge wasn't interested in it, so they took him out. That's not true at all. We've been talking since me and you were on Russo's show. About how at one point it was Daniel Bryan and then also it was Edge and Brock, how they controlled their creative and how Edge was involved in his storylines. So when Edge comes up with this group and there's a supernatural element to it, and he says he doesn't want that, then there isn't going to be one. At the same time, he would have no issue with a supernatural element because he was the one digging up all the Brood stuff and wanting to do that. So it's just one of these things where I hate all these dirt sheet guys because
let me cut you off here. I want to get because I want this question answered. Because the story that was gestating previously that came to fruition is that this was Edge's group, and Edge wanted Rhea Ripley, and he got Rhea Ripley. So it's like, how did it go from Edge having kind of creative control and forming his own group to like weeks later they're turning on him and beating him up? Was this how did we get there?
No, that's not what's supposed to happen. But as I said, like Edge would have a degree of creative control in everything that he does. So the supernatural thing is just made up. As I was about to say, it's these dirt sheets again. When I come on and say something in relation to a story, I say it like weeks or months ahead, and then you see it happen on television. All we have with Meltzer and Ross Sapp now is reactive journalism. It's like you didn't know before, and then after the event, someone tells you the whole story about everything that happened. It's
but Billy, we know this. People that listen to the show know this. This is your sell on the show. You're basically kind of the first guy to. You're the first guy to report news way before everybody, and people look back and say, "Yeah, Billy was right." But I want to know the specifics of this.
Okay, so essentially, about 3 weeks ago, they were doing Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar, and they were doing Edge and John Cena. Now, I don't know. I can't get inside the mind of Vince McMahon. Nobody can do that. But he decided that those top two matches didn't look right in terms of moving forward for the company. Now, obviously, I don't know specifically why. Maybe it's a case of everybody that apart from Roman is in their 40s out of those guys. So three of the four guys are in their 40s, and Roman's working a part-time deal now. So it doesn't really advance your product. So I think over the course of time, when they spoke about Cena, about what he's doing coming in, and Cena had no issues working with Theory, I've decided to go in that direction instead.
Wait, Cena's working with Theory?
He will be, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But they didn't.
Didn't you see a picture of them together, and he said he wanted to work with him?
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
That's interesting, bro. I'm not saying this. Here's what I'm saying right now. I like Theory, but it's like, boy, you're really shoving him into that spot. I think
he might remind him of him. He kind of looks like Cena, kind of built like him, and he's got that young boy swag,
Right.
So, yeah.
All right, go ahead, Billy.
So this leaves a hole for Edge, and something that I've been saying on this show and many shows, like for months and months and months, was that Edge wants to work against Finn Balor. At WrestleMania, he ended up working against AJ, because they're working through Edge's list of people. Like Roman at one point had a list of people he wanted to work with: Cesaro and Mysterio and Jeff Hardy and Daniel Bryan. Jeff Hardy left. But for Edge, he's also got a list of people where he wants to work with all these people, and he desperately wants to work with Finn Balor. He even wanted to go to NXT and work with Finn Balor. This was teased over 15 months ago. And for 15 months, like I've been saying, that he wants to work with Finn Balor. So now you lose a Cena match and you just go on and work with Finn Balor. I mean, doing it this way, I would assume that Edge is behind that. I don't know too much about it. I didn't even know that it was going to happen until it did.
That's why it was so great. Well, Konnan, you watched Raw, obviously, right?
Right.
What'd you think of that angle?
I just thought, wow, I'm just getting into this group and they're already breaking it up.
And I'm like, that to me, I made it like the exact same thought process you did, because we saw a lot of potential booking wise. But I'm like, wow, you know what? They did something that swerved us, because a lot of their booking has been very predictable. And it's like you completely went outside the box and got me here. Like nobody saw that coming, right? And I'm interested to see, because if they've been creatively, they've been decent lately. I wonder if they have a good idea coming out of this.
I just thought at the end, when I was trying to look at the bright side, because I was kind of bummed out, I was like, man, Edge has been doing killer promos. They look great together. They haven't really done anything together yet. But I just thought, okay, now we've got a hell-bent on revenge Edge who'll be good on the mic. finding some partners to go against these guys, which will be a great match because, Rhea and Priest and Finn can take good bumps and make anybody look good. So whoever he decides to collaborate with, this is going to be good, but we didn't get to see them together. I thought there was a lot of...
We didn't even get to see them do an angle with anybody.
Yeah.
They basically got formed, and their first angle, they turned
great swerve.
What an angle! Like 2 weeks of TV, and they turned on the guy.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like it was a great swerve because I like to be popped and surprised. Like, wow, that's.
But I just felt a little too soon. You should have milked this a little bit more.
Go ahead, Billy.
I think if Balor's just feuding with this group, and after they feuded with AJ, you don't create enough interest in a Balor versus AJ match. But making Balor the leader of this group and making Edge the babyface makes that the big match that Edge wants it to be. But as far as long-term planning, no, it wasn't there because Edge is not cutting his hair to be the leader of this group for 4 weeks. So that wasn't the case at all. This was not a long-term plan. This has come about because the SummerSlam card has been reshuffled and Edge and Cena isn't on it. And therefore they needed something for Edge. Edge has wanted to work with Balor for a long, long time. He may even want to put him over. Like, I can't even say at this point. I'll have to find out nearer the time. But he may even want to put him over.
Well, let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. This is a faction that, say they throw AJ in there, and you got AJ, Balor, and Priest, and Rhea Ripley, right? And you got the Bloodline, Usos and Roman Reigns. Say the Bloodline introduces a female member to that faction. Like, bro, you're looking at a group that could be pushed to, like, do weeks of TV against the Bloodline. With the Bloodline as babyfaces down the road. Would you agree with that?
I do, but I don't think AJ's going into it. Like, the Balor going into it was on my Patreon over the weekend. So I knew Balor was going in, but I didn't know Edge was coming out.
Right.
So that...
Nobody, I don't think anybody did. Did anybody report that? No, I don't think anybody reported that. They swerved everybody. That's actually good.
I just felt a lot.
It swerved everybody, which is.
I just felt a lot like. I just felt a lot like Billy. Like something must have happened that they were forced to make this change all of a sudden, almost like what happened in AEW where Punk got hurt and now they got this interim thing that's all convoluted. And sometimes that happens. Somebody gets injured or leaves or quits or whatever, and then you're forced to make these moves that you wouldn't have normally made.
But if you're hinting towards the Cody thing. It's not that because Edge is not replacing Cody's house show dates as the babyface on that side of the tour. So it's not that.
I didn't say it was that, but I'm wondering if something else happened that made them make you know what I'm saying?
Like here's a point. Let me make a point. What if Cody's injury, because he's going to be out for like 4 to 6 months getting the surgery? What if that triggered a trickle-down effect on other storylines they had with Cody disappearing? It's like, okay, well, we're not going to get here. We're not going to get here. And then they just kind of figured out on the fly, well, let's turn on Edge and put Edge, maybe not in Cody's spot, but we're losing a top babyface. How do you regain the top baby? Because they are. They're both, seriously. You lost your babyface main eventer on the last pay-per-view. You're down one guy. Who was the guy to step in there? And I'm like, maybe they're thinking like, Cena. Somebody came up with the night. Yeah, but Cena's part-time. Who are your weekly TV guys?
Yeah, but Cena works house shows when he's free in the summer.
Right. But Cena, I think, was already involved in the plans, wasn't he?
Yeah, Cena was involved.
Because here's my point. You're having one of your top babyfaces subtracted from the equation. That's a big spot. It's one of your top bases, like a main event or semi-main event babyface spot. Who do you replace that spot with? You can't really do it with Balor because he's been beat too much. Everything. Okay, let's turn one of our top heels and turn this guy babyface, and now we have another guy in a semi-main event spot to carry.
But it doesn't equate because Edge is a part-timer and he's not going to be doing the television that Cody was doing.
No, he's not a part-timer. Edge is not a part-timer.
Edge is a part-timer, yeah.
Bro, he's been on TV like 4 or 5 weeks. Had that being on TV every week is not part-time.
Bro. He doesn't do house shows.
Yeah, but that's a part-time. I don't care about that. I'm talking about because, like, to me, Brock Lesnar was a part-timer because he's hardly on any of the TVs. I'm talking about your TV part-timers. Edge is a weekly episodic television storyteller. He's on TV every week. He may not be doing the house shows and everything, but for TV, you still need that Cody Rhodes spot filled. You know,
But
because losing a bit. Go ahead.
Even Edge wasn't supposed to be on TV every week. Even Edge has been doing pre-tape segments while he's in the building that come on the week after. So even his contract isn't supposed to be doing as much.
Well, you guys make it sound like this is not a good decision to turn him babyface. I'm trying to explain to you why I think it might be. So what's your take on like what is it good or is this a good or bad decision? Where are they going with it?
It's not a decision based on them needing to cover for Cody or anything else like that. It's not a decision anything to do with that. It's a decision based on the fact that Edge's match at SummerSlam was changed, and when asked obviously what he would like to do or what his ideas were, 100% of the time Edge has been saying Balor. This is consistent with what I've been saying for 15 months. Edge wants to work with Finn Balor. Edge versus Finn Balor is not a strong match in going into the situation that we had before the heel turn. The babyface Balor has been beaten over and over and over and over again.
I agree.
Yeah, you could bring out the demon Finn Balor and beat him at SummerSlam maybe, but this is what they've decided to do. I have no doubt that Edge is behind it. I have no doubt that Edge pitched it or wrote it, and this is what they've decided to do. But for me, this whole keep evening out the numbers on the babyface side and the heel side, like I don't think that's anything to do with it, because John Cena's at SummerSlam, Brock Lesnar's at SummerSlam, Roman Reigns is defending the belt at SummerSlam. Matt Riddle versus Roman Reigns may actually happen on television to set up the acting rather than Money in the Bank, so more people can have eyes on them setting up the angle with Randy Orton for SummerSlam.
What's the Money in the Bank? What's the Money in the Bank? The Money in the Bank main event.
The Money in the Bank match.
What's the like? Is there another match on that card that's a draw?
There's the women's Money in the Bank, the men's Money in the Bank, Bianca versus Rhea Ripley, and that's probably it. Like you don't. I mean, it's in a.
I'm just creatively, my juices are flowing. Like thinking about this, you know how like Finn's the demon, and like they kind of went a little supernatural, and like when they did the dark sides. Bro, you could like Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley are both characters you could gimmick up and make them look even more sinister than they already do, because they already kind of look very dark. It's like I don't know. Maybe they're thinking of like kind of like superhero type heel faction. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just wondering, because like WWE these days, like the creative has not been bad. They're like there's some things that we that don't resonate with us because we're older and stuff. But like the way they're telling stories and the roads they're willing to go down and some of the things they're willing to do, it's like creatively, I could see the demon with like two other demons. They're all I don't know. I'm just thinking of like, because the visual presentation of that show has been spot on lately. With the entrances, the CGI in the entrances, the way the characters are dressed, the way they dress in their, it's like very, very high end. And I'm wondering if they're thinking we could take the next, because like Kane and Taker were kind of like, imagine Kane and Taker being produced today. Like if their characters were just being introduced.
Kane would come out with a gun, I think.
Yeah. That's right.